Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cosmic Metamorphosis. My name is Kat. Hello, my beautiful family, my beautiful soul tribe out there. It's been a couple of weeks. I've just, part of me has not felt like getting online and doing anything. I feel like the days are moving really fast, and before I know it, like the week's gone by, and I'm like, oh, I just didn't have time to transcribe anything. So, plus it's been really nice. We've had really a lot of nice days, and I'm just taking it all in. I love to like sit outside and listen to the birds sing and pet my little adopted stray kitty outside. So, um, anyway, I hope y'all are doing really well. Um, I just feel like the world is in chaos, even more so right now. Like, you really don't know who to trust. You don't know who you can listen to. You don't like everything's in upheaval. It's overwhelming right now. And I think that's another reason, like, I just, my inner soul just wants to step back and not do a whole lot. I just don't want to do anything. I just want to recluse. I think that's the Scorpio in me too. Like, I just want to go within and just sit there and meditate. And I haven't. I've been dreaming a lot. I just haven't been remembering a lot of things. I did have another weird couple of flashes. If you follow me, it was like me being in like a stasis area, but I remember seeing like a computer, a blue sort of computer screen in front of me, in a woman's face on the other side. And then I remember seeing like a syringe full of like green liquid, and I don't know, like it just flashed really quick in my mind's eye, and I thought, like I've said in my last videos, like maybe I was waking up somewhere else, and they're like, hurry, put her back down. Put her back down. She's not ready. She's not ready. She's not ready to wake up completely. Like none of us are completely awake. Like, you go through awakening stages as all this is occurring. It's just some of us have been here for many years, and it's just so frustrating. And there are days I'm just like, I'm totally with Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, and she's always ranting about how, the white hats aren't hurrying up fast enough, and why are they hiding all this from humanity, and why are we still just dragging this out, this whole procedure of taking everything down. I get that it takes a while because in our life on this planet, things go really quickly. It's like being a fly. Like, your lifespan is very short compared to out there where they live thousands of years. And so, 5 minutes to us is nothing, a blink of an eye to them. So this is why we have to think, like, this is why it's taking so long. Even though this whole process of taking everything down has been in the process, for, probably 50, 100 years. Who knows? Oh, anyway, I just went through my email because I don't really go through my YouTube channel, so I can't post there. I'm going to try and post this on my other Cosmic Metamorphosis 2 on YouTube, but YouTube took down my video number 62, Alex Collier's information from June 17th of 2022. They said there was misinformation on there about conspiracy theories, so they took that off of my YouTube channel. So anyway, this is going on BitChute. Hopefully most of you follow BitChute, like I said. And if you don't see a video in a while on YouTube, it's probably because I got a strike or they pulled something off, or So yeah, I'm back to having one more strike. So I can't post anything for a week. These are old. That was like number 62. That was like 20 some videos ago. I don't get it. Oh well. I'll take the strikes for Alex's information, right? Okay. So thank you so much for listening to me rant. I will get started. This is Alex Collier's webinar information from number 180 webinar from April 23rd of 2023. Or I think it was 21st. I think I put the year wrong. Anyway, it's from the end. I think it was 21st of April, but his number 180. He says, "Hi, everyone. Happy Good Friday. It's not really happy, but it turned out well." Says, "You know what's happening?" He says, "The former and current president of the United States gets indicted by a local DA on a federal crime. What's interesting about that?" And he laughs. He says, "When the feds, the DOJ, the Federal Election Commission are saying it's not a crime, what's interesting about that? The Biden administration is going to withhold all federal funding to all educational institutions that do not push the transgender agenda. What's interesting about that? Credit Suisse is bought by UBS, and rumors are UBS has closed its doors. That's Union Bank, Switzerland. Because of this, he says they're done. He says they cannot survive the ISO 2022 requirements. What's interesting about that? He says that's 200,000 sealed indictments. He says there's 200,000 that have to do with 9/11 alone. What's interesting about that, right? So says, we live in very interesting times, and I have said for years I wouldn't do this again, but I have to admit, at this particular time, I'm getting really, really excited about being here in this for this transition, for the emancipation of all of humanity on this planet, and in a small part, the emancipation of the galaxy as well. The Military Code of Justice, Derek Johnson, has a terrific a new of the Trump speech from April, 6th. He says it's excellent. Now, one of the interesting things that we're all going to find out, speaking about codes, is that we have the federal codes, we have the military codes, and we have each particular individual corporate entities under the umbrella of the corporate U.S. government as of 1871. They all have their own codes. What's interesting, ladies and gentlemen, is that codes are not laws. The only ones who can create a law based on the original Constitution are those who are entities that are acting as sovereigns. None of us have been sovereign since 1871, but we didn't know it. And I always thought a lot about Ulysses S. Grant, but he clearly fucked up here, he says. But that's another talk, another lecture, webinar. He says, in California, the state of California is being pressured by minorities to pay reparations. Now, the state of California has bent backwards to do the dumbest things in the world with ludicrous policies. And what's really interesting is that this may be what absolutely bankrupts and takes down the state of California. And if that's what it takes for it to collapse, for that government to collapse, then that's what it needs to happen. And the sooner the better, says quite frankly, because it's all the corporations, the towns, the municipalities, all in California, all corporations, and everyone is obligated and subjugated to these corporations because of contracts. Driver's license is a contract, your electric bill is a contract, your property taxes, they're all contracts, which makes all of us wards of the state. Yeah, that's exactly right. We're wards of the state. We're property, which is why they can trade our birth certificates as a bond, because we're wards of the state. This is all information that's going to be coming out, and because we're wards of the state, we're in fact, by legal definition, slaves. So we sing the songs without the knowledge of knowing that technically, by law, by corporate law, we are wards of the state, which makes us slaves. That's something that's going to be coming out. The Epstein case is moving along very quickly. The White Hats military has the total list. They have forwarded this to all other White Hat military intelligence groups around the world of who was involved in Epstein Island and the things that have been done there. And this is specifically about underage children and child trafficking, etc., 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 he says. That's not going away. No one's going to get away with any of that shit. It says the arrest of President Trump, clearly demonstrates that our judicial legal system is corrupt. Now, when you combine that with the tyrannical movement of intelligence agencies, if you look at Federal Reserve and Rothschild banking cartel, if you look at the medical mafia and how these pharmaceutical companies created and weaponized when you put all of these pieces together, ladies and gentlemen, there is no way to fix this except burn the whole thing down. The entire apparatus has to come down. We have two governments, we have two militaries, we have two presidents. Well, technically one, but someone's playing or pretending to be an actor, to be a president, who actually isn't the real person. He's somebody else. It's obvious he's wearing a mask, whoever it is. And actually, there have been several, if you've been paying attention. So the military district of Washington, D.C. is doing everything it can to protect what's left of the corporation. Now, understand that there is a group within the Pentagon that's dark. I don't know how much power they have. I don't know how much influence they still have, but I'm sure they're very much attached to rogue intelligence agencies for profit, NGOs and intelligence agencies, and they're doing everything they can to protect themselves because there's no more deals. There's no more deals. And the vast majority of our military and our forces are loyal to the patriots, are loyal to America. They're loyal to the citizens, I should say, to the American people, because they are the American people as well. Now, I'm going somewhere with this. He says it's complicated, and I'm trying to share it in such a way that everybody gets it. And of course, that's always the trick. He says, years and years ago, 30 plus years ago, when I first started to talk, I shared with you that the Andromedan race from fifth density, as well as other races, came back in time. And Mornay and Visayas had said that they came back in time to right a terrible wrong, and then began a process of merging multiple timelines into one. And then that program, began in earnest in 2012, to the point that we now have one single timeline. I talked about this on webinar 76, March 1st, 2019, and I believe it was question number 3. It's time to revisit that. He says, I hear a lot from people. What's taking so long? Why aren't they moving? Why aren't they doing something? Well, the fact is that the White Hats are doing a tremendous amount around the world, both above ground and below ground and off world. But the way that this thing has been gained, although in my opinion, that's not the appropriate word, but every scenario has been looked at. Every move has been gauged. with an outcome. A point is coming. Eminently, where all these things, all these events merge into a single moment. And that single moment is a place of complete vulnerability for all that is and was of the dark side. And if the right pressure, the right hoops are made in that very moment, the entire dark side apparatus that has consumed Earth, including AI, he says all of it, if the right pressure is given at that moment, at this event, the whole thing collapses on itself. That's it. It's all gone. It's absolutely gone. And we accelerate in consciousness to where we're supposed to be. Sorry. Again, I write so fast sometimes I can't read my writing. He says, in other words, this is like a brace, like a handcuff, a chain that's been holding humanity. If the right pressure is given at the right time, at the right place, this whole thing just goes. It just collapses, and we accelerate to where we need to be. And that's the majority of everybody. We're going to have some who, because of anxiety and fear and everything else, who aren't going to make the transition. They will physically leave their souls. Excuse me. They will physically leave, and their souls will leave their physical bodies, and they will move on. Okay. And where they go, I simply do not know. I'm more focused on living than the dead. But that moment is upon us. It absolutely is. Now, I've shared with you that because they've come back in time to right a terrible wrong, that also means that very specific soul groups from different levels of consciousness have also come back and also reincarnated into the system to move this process along. And that's virtually all of us. Whether you're awake or not, whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. Okay. What matters is that you're aware of it. Now, what does this actually mean? I think this was from the beginning of April. It might have been April 7th. I'm so sorry. April 7th. I think the next one I have is April 21st that I started on. So this webinar, it's number 180, which is, I think, the beginning of April. Sorry about that, guys. He holds up a Space Force flag in his webinar, and he says, what this means, ladies and gentlemen, is we are all Space Force. It says all of us are Alliance. Do you understand? He says that twice. Do you understand? All of us are. Okay. He said, "Ooh, I got chills. I got big time chills." We're all Space Force. We're all Alliance, and it's time y'all know it. Okay. It's time y'all know it. It is not an accident that you are here. It is not by default. You're here because you are needed to be here. Whether you are awake or not, when you do awake, you will make massive contributions because you will understand what it is you need to do. For those of us who are awake, who've been holding the ground, you've been holding the light, said you've been encouraging humanity with your energy, with your frequency, with your positivity, with your compassion and your love, all of which means something. When we talk about this is a movie, it is almost as if we have transported ourselves from the future into a historical document in order to change the ending of the movie. Okay? We're living in a historical artifact. That's what we're doing right now. We are living in a historical artifact in order to change the ending. What you have brought, What you are still to bring to the scenario is wisdom, is strength, is perseverance, compassion, because your compassion is magnificent. Otherwise, you would not have come back to this place, into this time, okay? Into this holograph in order to see this mission through. And I want you to know, and I want you to understand that we have got a lot of backup. In fact, reinforcements are arriving all the time. The Andromedan mission in Orion is done. They have not only come back to our solar system, but other reinforcements are also arriving from other star systems as well. So this is how we know we are at this moment. We're at this moment where we're going to see the completion of what's left of the Orion conscious matrix. We're about to see it absolutely collapse. And there's a lot of chatter about the gray hive and all that. He says that's all remnants of Orion AI system. Okay. He says, yeah, it's real, but about to come down. It's about to completely collapse in every way. And I mean, literally go away as if it weren't ever here. And it's going to appear, or when it happens, within several days, you're going to begin to see a real shift in consciousness in everybody. Okay. It's almost as if they're coming out of a coma, because that's when the soul of the human being, the soul of the people who have been stuck in this matrix, their DNA lineage, which has been captured forever, will be finally freed. It's absolutely amazing time. It's absolutely an amazing time. And I do not feel like I can even give it enough credence and language. It says now, you're also witnessing the Federal Reserve, and the US wanting to create their cryptocurrency by, they're saying by July. They don't have till July, he says. He says they simply don't. And if they were to do it, literally all of your freedoms would be gone for the most part. It says they are, for the most part, they are gone. Okay. They've taken everything from us. They have. They've taken everything from us. Bastards. Right? The only thing they don't charge us for is the air. And if they could figure that out, they would. So there's nothing to salvage with this system, and the reason, and maybe one of the good reasons that this thing continues to prolong itself, is that the White Hats and the Alliance source, they want us to absolutely look and clearly understand what this tyranny looks like. You have to understand this isn't just about us. Yes, we are the ones participating. Yes, we're the ones freeing ourselves from this bondage. But this is an historical moment in our galaxy. It's historical. This transition of evolving race is historical, which is why it's a historical artifact already. This will be shared with other star nations in other galaxies. Many already know about what's happening here, okay? They know because they have their own deep states. They all have their own contrast, at least those in third and fourth density. They have their own contrasts. So they're aware of it. That here we are, a group of collective soul groups, but literally represent all of the dimensional planes here in one place, incarnating and experiencing third density physicality as a human race. That's unique in itself, because you're taking the consciousness of beings that are so big and so huge and condensing it into a little tiny space, into these little tiny bodies. It says that's what you are. That's who you are. Okay? That's who you are, and let's not forget that. So there's no reason to be afraid of these changes. You're here for this change. You came here to help facilitate all this change. That's why you're here, okay? It isn't to be nuked. It's not going to happen, okay? It's not. Yeah, it's going to get uncomfortable, but we'll get through it. We always do. We always do. That's why we're here, okay? And he kind of just chuckles and laughs. He says, okay. My cat's meowing. Hi, Amber. My video kitty. Okay. He says, we're knights. Knights. We're knights. He says, we're galactic knights. We're galactic special forces. We're Space Force. We're Alliance. Some of you are angels, true angel beings. Some of you were gurus, wise men of old, historical personages in your own star systems, black leaguers, kings, Yahwehs, Ishwishes. Says those are titles, by the way, of royalty. In here. Some of you were military or still are military. And when this is all over, you'll go back to your avatar bodies and you'll pop back in and you'll resume your place in your societies. When you think about that, that's a huge thing. That's a huge thing because we come to this planet and from the minute you're born, you're put down. You know, not a whole lot of us are raised in environments that help us grow positively. You know, so our whole lives we've been told you're this, you're that, you're no good, whatever. And then to have that thought of, wow, we are this exceptional consciousness who came here from other galaxies into this galaxy to help. Like it just really humbles you. It does for me anyway. But he says, for some of you listening, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but I know that you will. He says, I know that you're going to figure this out, okay? Slavery, the slave issue in our galaxy ends with Earth liberating herself, with humanity liberating itself from what's left of the Orion AI system. And it's going to come with the understanding that governmental structure that we've all been living under for the last several thousands of years enslaved all of humanity. The US Treasury has its hands full. The US Treasury printed bonds in order to sell debt to borrow money, and all of those bonds are coming back to the United States now. I have heard that the US Treasury has put all of its debts on the books of the Federal Reserve. When it took over the Fed, he says, I hope that's right, but there is going to be a monetary and economic shift, a change in our system. Some things will be familiar, a lot of things will not be. There will be an adjustment period, but this is going to happen around the world as well, okay? But I'm primarily speaking to the English-speaking world. You have to understand that this has to happen. You can't just cancel laws, cancel government, and continue to use a debt slave monetary system. You can't half-ass this, he says. The whole thing, the entire thing, has to burn to the ground, and sooner the better, and we're there. He says, we're very, very close. We're very, very close. He says it literally could happen at any time because the series of events are merging and coming together to where that the where that fail-safe moment of collapsing that entire regressive matrix is upon us. They're waiting for it. This is why you're seeing all of these incredible acts of desperation, false flags, shootings. Oh, I'll probably get dinged for that on YouTube. This is all about the to generate fear. This is all to buy time, all to distract humanity from what's happening, okay, behind the scenes, because it's spilling out into the open. The wars spilling out into the open. The attack on the exopolitics community. Many of these people that are doing this are simply interested in division. They're not even wanting to have a dialogue about any of the information. They're not, okay? These are people who are still stuck in, well, we saw a sighting that we're still trying to figure out 12 years ago. We did see the metal in this video, but we can't decide who it is 17 years ago. They're still trying to figure out Roswell. Says they're stuck in the past. They are not here and now, and they're not even wanting to have a dialogue about anything that's going on now. And it doesn't matter whether Space Force releases information. It doesn't matter that scientific communities and programs are listening very intently to the information that's being shared presently within the exopolitics community. None of that matters. All that matters is their own survival and whether it takes division or not. It doesn't matter. Can't wait for unity, right? I'm so tired of the division crap. Everywhere you look, divide, 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 divide. First it was racial color. Now it's gender stuff, like division, division, division. Can we not get past that crap, that physicality? Can we not look at people's souls anymore and their personality and whether they're a good person or a bad person? Like, come on. Just pisses me off. It's a waste of time, honestly. He says we have to move together in order to graduate consciously and then physically to the next level. A specific percentage of us all have to be on the same page, not in exactly the same place. That's not necessary, but we have to be moving forward, which means we have to drop the past. Absolutely. We have to let go of our baggage. We have to let go of hate, discrimination, the idea that we're all different and we need to have division. I didn't realize when I just said my spiel that's once I write this out, I don't go back and reread it until I read it to you guys. So see. All of those learned behaviors from the deep state, from the cabal, from the Orion group, from the Greys and the Draco reptilians, division, even some from the Anunnaki, okay? We learned a lot of bad habits from the Anunnaki, some good ones, but some bad ones too. When they had infighting amongst themselves, they used humanity to fight their wars. That still happens today. They use our sons and daughters to fight their battles. They lied on both sides about the reasons for this, and both sides paid the price, and they have. In moving forward, each one of us has to ask the question, what is it that I'm holding on to that's holding me back? And if you have to be honest with yourself as to whether or not it's really important or not anymore, okay? Because if it's weighing you down, if it's slowing you down, if it's keeping you from self-love, if it's keeping you from releasing any self-judgment, says you have any judgment you have that you know is bullshit, he says, why would you want to hold on to that? Why would you want to hold on to that? Because you're angry? Because without your anger, you don't have the energy or the drive to move forward. Have you tried it a different way? Because I get that. I do. He says, I get that. Sometimes I need friction in our life. Sometimes we need friction in our life, sorry, in order to keep us going. But that also means you have to feed that friction. You have to feed that wolf, that dark wolf inside you in order to continue to create that friction, as opposed to feeding the wolf that wants to move forward, that wants sovereignty, that wants freedom, that wants to leave the planet and explore the heavens, who wants to be at peace, who wants to experience unconditional love for themselves. These are the questions that we're all going to have to look at. Many of us have already done this work, and there are now many others who are lashing out at others because they don't know what to do with their anger. They don't understand what's going on. But instead of asking questions, he says, allowing even the smallest resemblance of vulnerability to ask someone who knows what's going on so that they can get an answer or at least get a piece of wisdom, that will put a crack in their armor, which sometimes is all it takes to seek their own answers. The physical world that we see is an artifact of what's going on consciously. The work, the origin of our lives is our consciousness. It's not the physical world, those are artifacts. So everyone has to move back inside, and that's hard work. It can be very, very hard work until you figure it out, because once you go inside, you have to let go of all of your illusions, and all those things are attached to our egos, and it can suck. He laughs. It can suck. It can. He says it's hard work. It's hard work because we have to let go of our illusions of who we think we are. He says, we have to learn how to fly. We have to learn how to fly. And that's a huge leap of faith. But if you don't have faith in yourself, why would anybody else? Why would anybody else? Kind of like that saying, you first must love yourself in order to love others. Absolutely. National Guard mobilization. He says, I can share with you many of them have been going through many specific training for what's coming. And it's my understanding that they're ready. They're ready to go, and everyone's really confident that they're ready to go. They understand what they're doing. They understand why they're doing it. And this does not just involve arresting politicians, pedophiles, etc. This also involves gangs, drug traffickers, human traffickers, cartels. It's really going to be something. It's really is going to be something, and we are so close, folks. We can almost taste it. And so this week, we also got the message that like the federal government people have basically gotten satellite phones in case communications go down. They've got satellite phones. And then yesterday there was something that came out on Telegram about now they're having to go to disclosed locations. They're claiming it's a vacation with their family, that they have to be there by Saturday, the 27th of May. So I really wonder. And then we've got like all that detonation stuff, the bomb stuff, the stuff to make bombs is missing. 30 tons or something like that is missing. So something might happen this weekend. And because it's Memorial weekend here in the States, it's Memorial weekend. So it is a 3-day holiday weekend. So that's also when the bank system's supposed to switch over as well. So, and being that June 1st is next week, something might happen this weekend. Let's hope it does, but let's hope nobody gets hurt from it. Let's just say that. Hopefully things will be shifting. He says, we also need to understand the difference between a republic which we have forgotten. He says, well, actually, most of us have never been taught it. And a corporation structured government, okay? None of our politicians that are elected and who pass corporate resolutions, he says, which we think are laws, are acting as sovereigns. They are actually wards of the state as well, which is why the Brunson case is so important, because it officially puts an end to all of the wards of state and it exposes the whole sham that we've been living under since 1871. It says, now, we have learned that over the last 4, 5, 6 years that Washington, D.C. is foreign territory. Have you really grasped what that means? Foreign territory. That's because the controlling interest in the corporation is foreign. It's outside of the United States of America. Its origin is another continent. Our elections mean nothing. They have really truly meant nothing because all they're doing is passing corporation resolutions, and a corporate resolution is not a law. It's not. And who's the other country who owns us? Britain. Britain. We were never free from them. The Bar Association, the attorneys, they are sworn in into a code of British regulations of maritime law. British. So, ladies and gentlemen, those of us who call ourselves citizens are wards of the state legally, and that's just what it is. And I know there's going to be a lot more information coming out. I'm just presenting it to you now, so that when this information really begins to flow out everywhere, that you're not shocked by it. You're like, okay, you know what Collier mentioned that a little while ago, and I know there's been others who have mentioned that, he says, but there's things, these things are coming, and they're coming, and it's going to come in a wave, and in a few days there will be more information, and then more, and then we're going to lose some people in the sense that they're not going to be able to keep up with the information or the intelligence because they don't know how to process data or information, and they're going to go into overwhelm because they've not been taught critical thinking. And that's been, again, all part of the dumbing down process. I think the average reading level, he says, of the American citizenry, of the American people, is somewhere between the 6th and 8th grade. That's the average reading level, and you have to understand it was all done on purpose. It was all done on purpose. When the Corporation of the United States created the Department of Education, if you look at that moment when the creation of the Department of Education and you match it to where the intelligence and scholastic scores of the United States were before that moment, you will see it just literally collapsed. It was all done intentionally because after World War II, our soldiers who came back, they knew an awful lot about the world then. Those that came back and how it worked, they knew about what was going on in Europe. They understood Nazification, they understood fascism, communism. They knew a lot because they saw it firsthand. And the powers that be were never going to be able to pull that off here unless they began a process of dumbing down future generations. And again, I try and tell people, and even in my work, I try and tell the young coworkers, I'm like, whatever you do after high school, go travel the world. Travel the world. That is the best education you will get, to experience other cultures and people and really understand the world that we live in. Okay, it's the best education you could have. He says, and that's exactly what they did. And then they had the 60s, you had the hippie movement, you had the free movement, and then the 70s, and then the 80s, and you saw this culture gap between generations. And all this was done intentionally to separate the generations so that every generation would blame the one before for their problems, creating more and more division. Bastards. Bastards. It was all done intentionally. And being naive, we bought into it hook, line, and sinker. All this is going to be laid out for us. And then we're going to have to look at ourselves. We're going to have to look at each other. And we're going to have to make a decision. Do we let this go? Or do we continue to move forward as a race, not as individual sovereign nations, which we will continue to be, but as a race of human beings who can maintain their cultural attributes, but still move together as a race in peace and in mutual respect? That's what's necessary. And in so doing, we have to let go of the past, because most of that was complete and entire manipulation to trap and enslave us in behavioral patterns. We're the alliance, ladies and gentlemen. We're all alliance. We're all Space Force, whether you know it or not. I think that's cool, don't you? I love it. Yay! I haven't worn my Space Force t-shirt in a while. Bought one a long time ago. He says, James wanted me to talk about the Restrict Act, which is something that the United States wants to do. In March 7th, 2023, Virginia's Senator Mark Warner introduced the Restricting the Emergence of Security Threats That Risk Information Communications. It's also informally known as the Patriot Act 2.0. He says, ladies and gentlemen, this whole thing, which it appears to be good intentions, is not. Will completely destroy the Fourth Amendment. This will completely destroy what's left of the First Amendment. The penalties associated with this are just ridiculous. $1 million fine, minimum of 20 years in federal prison. What they don't want us to know is what's really been happening in the United States by the left and the right, the rhinos. They all have shit to hide. They've all been compromised because we've had no term limits. These guys have become professional thieves and traitors, and it's absolutely everywhere. How does someone who becomes a congresswoman at $170,000 a year in 8 years worth $30 million? How's that happen? How's that happen? And he just kind of laughs and he says, they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know. So they're trying to cover their ass here. But again, this is all corporations. These corporate resolutions, these are corporate codes, okay? Because that's what we're looking at. That's the sham of what we're seeing on television, okay? We're not acting as sovereign individuals, or they are not. They're not acting as sovereign individuals because the republic has been decimated at that moment. At the moment, it's on life support. And the only ones keeping it together, keeping the actual organic constitution, the republic on life support, are the white hat patriots. And those patriots are around the world. So they're around the world because the same issue we have here in the United States, France has, Britain has, Germany has, Asian countries have. They all have the same mission. They all have their own deep state, because wherever you find a Rothschild central bank, you have deep state. So they all have the same experience, and they're all going through. Australia has the exact same issue, so they understand. We're all in this together. All in this together. The only divisions that are appearing or that are being festered are those by the deep state. There's a lot taking place in Africa. In the last week, 40 heads of African of Africa. 40 heads of Africa met with Putin and Xi in Moscow. The Russians and Africans have kicked out the French, or should I say French deep state, and virtually all of Africa wants to join BRICS. Now, for those of you who aren't paying attention or aren't just simply aware, 70% of the world's population is already part of BRICS. And the reason they are dumping the United States dollar should not be a reflection, and we should not take this personally. Those of us who are the American people, this movement is focused on the abuse of the deep state using the United States dollar to infiltrate, compromise the sovereignty of those nations. A lot of terrible things have been done in the name of the American people, which we don't know about, we haven't heard about yet, but terrible things, and they want their freedom as much as we do. Those countries want their freedom, yes, and they deserve it. So, in that regard, we're all on the same page. This system, this central bank system, this corporate cabal, this medical mafia of international corporations has to be brought down right to the foundation. There's no other way. Otherwise, when the currency system revalues and we move to the blockchain system and the quantum financial system, which is real, by the way, he says, whatever remnants of the deep state will figure out how to get money, financing, and rebuild itself. We can't allow that to happen. We simply cannot, because it's cancer. It's a cancer. All they do is feed off of us. It has to be put down once and for all. It's important to understand that, because when you understand that, you're not in fear of seeing the whole system collapsing, okay? No, I'm gonna throw a party. I'm gonna throw a party, or I'm gonna dance in the street. I don't know. Like, I'm waiting for it. The white hats are not fools. There is a system that has been put into place to replace this. They understand we don't know how to live without a monetary system. The Alliance Off-World, they understand. This is not their first rodeo either. They understand all we know is a monetary system, and to move us away from a monetary system into a completely different system of barter and then true total sovereignty will take some time. Will take several generations. See, I'm not sure about that, because I think that's one thing I hear Alex talk about a lot, and our life changed. Everybody's life on this planet changed the day they announced COVID and the lockdown. And we all had to live completely different from that point on. And it was instantaneous. And he's saying it's going to take generations. I'm not sure about that. Maybe one generation to completely get it out of our system. But I think once we realize that we are sovereign people, I don't think it would take much to change, how to do things. I really don't. But he says it will take several generations. They get that. But the system now, it has to be gone. There's no living with it because there's no more deals. They had an opportunity to stand down, and they didn't. They were given an opportunity to stand down, and at first they said yes, and then they continued to do their shit. And then they were asked again, and they said, yes, we will. And some elements of it stood down, but the rest of it didn't. It went more covert in order to circumvent the white hats, because it's all about control for them, okay, and enslaving humanity. So they could continue to feed off of us. So now there's no more deals. No more deals. That's done. And the screaming and crying, and I'm just going to say FFs, that's all them. It's all deep state wailing and projecting and blaming. They're blaming the victims for their collapse. Can you believe that shit? He says that's what they're doing. They're blaming the victims, us, of their system for their collapse. I F you. Yeah. That's how out of touch they are. So we're in the storm. We're in the thick of it, okay? There is no turning back. The dominoes are falling, and we're moving to a moment that many will find very, very scary. But he kind of chuckles at that. They're going to find scary. The rest of us are going to be celebrating, right? It says, but you have to understand that all of this about taking down the Orion AI system and the deep state, these people that live and feed off of humanity, energy wise, and literally feeding off humanity, they cannot coexist with us. They cannot, because they won't. They won't coexist with us. So, okay. He says, I have more, but I will save that for the next webinar. I know there's probably a lot of questions, and before I get to that, I wanted to share something. One of our members, Miss Katie Bishop, she's probably just fallen off her chair, is working with something called Next Steps Conference 2023, and it's very, very worthy group for the organization whose relevance is very, very important at this time. They involve homesteading, homeschooling, new health paradigms, many, many different things. They have a website, so https semicolon, I think he said PAC, PACK. I didn't know that. I couldn't really understand what he's saying. Is pac-edu.org/next steps 2023. I'll try and find that link for you. I forgot to look that up before doing this video. He said, Miss Bishop, if you're in the chat, please post that information. I had a look at it and it's really, really good, and it's absolutely worth a look-see, okay? Because it offers tools, it offers solutions for local governances, basically starting over. He says, now why is this important? Because, ladies and gentlemen, when the Fed comes down and the corporate Fed comes down, you're going to have to realize that all the models of our local government are exactly of the Fed, okay? So they have to come down. We need to replace our local governments, our municipal governments, which are corporations who have all of these regs, he says, and these codes, which are not law. None of these people, they may be good people and have operated in good faith with their constituencies, he says, but the corporate organization is not representative of sovereign individuals. It does not represent sovereignty. If you pay local taxes, you're now a ward of that municipality. That's the way the law reads. Do you understand? We have to look at all of it. We have to look at all of it. Because if we're truly going to be sovereign, to unconditionally be responsible for oneself without being manipulated by some higher authority, these are the higher authorities that are manipulating us, whether they are intentionally doing it or not. They represent the enslavement of the people. They're structured that way by contract to have control of us. Next Steps is a very, very important stepping stone, a way to have local conversations about what we're going to do moving forward. Remember, we are the forefathers and foremothers now. What we do to set the new foundation for the new generations is what we are going to be remembered for. This is about the kids. It's always been about the kids. And it's us now. It is. It's totally on us to make this shift, to make this transition, to enlighten ourselves, to make sure that future generations do not fall into the same trap. And we're capable of doing it. Whether you're a civilian, veteran, he says we're obligated to protect our own, okay? We are. That's what we do. That's what we're supposed to do. In defending each other, we remain free. We're regaining our freedom as we speak, but once we get that freedom, we have to remain free and we have to be able to teach what it means to be free, be self responsible to ourselves and to each other in order to remain free. He says, okay, let's do some question answers. One thing I've been noticing in my life too, by being quiet and staying within, I watch a lot of on my time off. I'll watch videos like I've shared like on YouTube, things that inspire me. There's the newbies, so THENEWBYS, the newbies. They're a great little family. Um, I'm going back and watching a lot of their videos from the beginning, and they traveled during COVID, and I think, they did the nose swabbing, they did all the procedures, and they got the thing pretty much, I'm sure, because they traveled. But, you know, um, they're wonderful people. They really are good people. Like, I don't agree with what they did just to be able to travel, but, hey, it doesn't look like it affected them. Hopefully they got the good batch. But any of these people with van life or whatever, in traveling, like they all had to do it. But I found another one through them called Leave Everything and Wander. They're an Italian couple, really sweet. I mean, very positive, even with the negative things. There's Mr. and Mrs. Adventure. um, I love watching those YouTube channels because they inspire me a whole lot. And a lot of times, like, I get inspired by them cleaning or them renovating or whatever. It makes me want to clean my house or makes me want to do, a project or something. But they're very positive people and I like to watch them. And I just feel like when you see people like that, I don't know, I've just been feeling a connection. Like they're my soul family. They're humanity. They are part of my soul family. I am them and they are me. Like I'm just feeling that way a whole lot more lately. Like you when you start to realize that, because we've been so divided our whole life we've been divided from each other, and especially these last 3 years we've been so divided that when you connect with someone like that, even through online, through internet, like me and you, like you just know they're good people, they're good souls, and you just feel that bond. And you, like I said, like I am them and they are me, and we are family, we are the human race, and it's such a good feeling. So I've been getting days where I feel like that when I watch these videos, and it's very positive for me. It's very positive for me. So that's I'm growing through learning that and watching their videos, and everywhere that they travel, because I don't get to travel. I don't really have a whole lot of money, so um, getting to see their videos and wherever they go, all throughout the world, like it's just really inspiring. So anyway, enough of me rambling, but so we're on to questions. First question, can you share insights on how our biofields are affected by the Earth's movement of true north to Siberia and the sun's recent magnetic shift? Are these shifts happening to set a new magnetic grid for Earth and humanity's expansion into 5D? And Alex's answer was, I don't exactly know, but years and years ago, Mornay had said that the Earth's magnetic field, the ley lines, were off, and that it would be necessary to realign the Earth's magnetic fields and ley lines to power points and sacred sites on the Earth. And when that happens, the Earth's field would be in total alignment to our central sun of our galaxy. Now, is that what's going to happen? He says, are they going to move the Earth so that it realigns its magnetic field, or are they going to realign the magnetic field to the Earth and the sun? He says, I don't know yet. He He says, I just don't know yet, but I'm aware this is going to happen at some point. I even talked about this years ago in some of the early stuff. He says, a lot of things that were shared in the 90s and early 2000s was way ahead of its time. He says, and maybe this is what's coming. Maybe that reconnecting of the grid to the sacred sites or the chakras of the earth to the earth chakra system is what shifts our energy and shifts our level of consciousness to the next level. Could very well be that's what happens. He says, but I don't have any information on that at the moment or how that's going to happen or that I would know, especially since we're still entangled with the Orion AI system and we're still shutting some of that contrast down. We're still dealing with some of that contrast. He says, but as the Q team says, nothing can stop what's coming. He says, I'm extremely comfortable with that because I'm aware of what's coming to humanity, and that's genuine, true freedom. Yes. Of and enlightenment. And none of us should be afraid of that. We actually should be welcoming it. But it does mean letting go of the matrix, the system that we've been living under and we've become perfectly numb with. We're going to have to let that go. And it will be let go in stages. It doesn't make sense to create more trauma for humanity than not only has it gone through, but what it will be going through as this information in the history of our world and what's really been going on is brought forward. Some of it's going to be very, very tough pill to swallow for a lot of folks, but we have to process through it and we have to continue to move through it. Okay. He says, and take that anger, that anguish, that sorrow, that grief. He says, and just continuously process through it so that we can all get to the other side and just make it a commitment to each other and to future generations that this will never happen again. That's all we can do, folks. We're going to have to step up. How that happens for each of us individually, I don't know. But can it be done? Absolutely. We've done this partially already. We have. We just come back to finish it, to make sure it's fully completed, okay? That it gets done this time. Next question. I've heard some of our wars here were fought over stargates. Do you know if this is true and how many stargates do we have on Earth? Are any of them currently active? Alex says, well, we did not go into other countries to retrieve stargates or to control or to shut them down or destroy them. Oh, did we go into, sorry, repeat that. Well, did we go into other countries to retrieve stargates, to control them or shut them down, destroy them? He says this would be true. He says we did. Basically, we did. That is not the cover story, though. And that's a bit out of my lane. That's someone else's lane to share that information and to come forward with it. I would point you in the direction there of Dr. Michael Sala. I would point you in that direction. That's his lane, and he's the professor. Next question. Alex, you have told us to run for office once the new systems are in place. My husband did run for commissioner and won the primaries. The locals were furious and wanted to put in $35,000 to beat him in the general election. Says, will the white hats only be exposing the bad players at the federal and above levels, or will they be helping to take out the politicians at the state and county levels as well? I know where I live, complete corruption in this town, in this little town. If you have money, you're able to bribe all the judges anytime you go to court. I know that for a fact because when I took our landlord to court over he charged us $3,000 for carpet that wasn't already stained when we moved in. Um, I'll just say I looked up every past court problem he had, and he won every single one of them because he has money in this town. There are people in our town who own every restaurant chain. That's why they won't allow any outside chains to come in. All we have here in our town for outside chains for restaurant, we have Applebee's and Red Lobster. Every other restaurant in this town um, is a local restaurant. So that family owns a lot of property, a lot of real estate, restaurants, and one of them is even now an Idaho senator. So money talks, and that shit needs to be taken down. Absolutely, even at local levels. And his answer to this was, well, see, that's where the National Guards come in. It says when the governors were called to DC, I think it was 29 states, 31 states. He says when they were called to DC, you remember this intel? Yeah, this was back in 2020, 2021. So it's been the past 3 years. Yes. They were told, this is what we have on you. This is what we have on your local elections, your county elections, your state elections. We have it all. This is not just a blanket statement. When Space Force, White Hats, Q Team says that, they mean it. They have it all. And when the National Guard mobilized, and the unsealed indictments are unsealed, they're coming for everybody. That's the storm. It's going to clean house, okay? It's Roto-Rooter time, he says. They're cleaning everything. It may happen in waves, but nobody gets away from this. Nobody walks. All the crooked politicians, all involved in human trafficking, all those involved in adrenochrome, and the whole 9 yards. He says, whoosh, they're gone. He says, you're gone. You're done. It's over. Yes, the whole corporate structure is coming down. It's coming down. It has to be wiped clean, okay? You can't build a free republic on this corrupt structure and corrupt personages. Just can't do it. They're a cancer. They all have to be cleaned out. So that's your answer, and congrats to your husband. That's awesome. He's awesome news. I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of you. Well done. Well done. Excellent. Keep us abreast of that, okay? Please let us know how things are going. That's just great. See, and that was my point too. Watching those videos on YouTube of other families and feeling like you're connected is like just being happy for them that they're happy. That is a very hard thing for people to do, is to be happy for other people. Okay. When someone's happy, genuinely be happy for them that they are happy. Don't put on this attitude that, like, and a lot of people get and you just get jealous. That's what we're used to do. We're used to get jealous of people who are happy, that have a good life, that something good has happened in their life. Be happy for them. Tell them, hey, congratulations, I'm so happy for you. It doesn't take much, okay? We just need to be happy for each other. Okay? We're all family. Next question. It feels like we are on the verge of breaking out of the matrix. Do you see this as well? Is there anything that the A's suggest we can do to hasten the fall of the matrix and moving into fourth and fifth? Besides what we've already discussed, Alex says this has to happen organically. This has to be humanity doing it. And yes, it is collapsing. There are massive cracks that will never be fixed. Okay, it's over. But this has to be organic, because the fact that it's organic, what it's doing is it's powering humanity itself. And you have to remember the ultimate goal here is for humanity to become a race of leaders. All of us have to become a race of leaders, totally responsible for ourselves. And that only happens organically. You can't go to class and teach that. It has to come from within. It has to come from within. So whatever help they're doing, it has to be our idea. We're being encouraged to do it ourselves, and it isn't just the A's. You have the Arcturians, the Tausetians, he says, who else? Sometimes I pause because he like goes off on another part of the sentence. He says, God, there's just so many. He says, you need a scorecard at this point with all the different races that are here. He says, we're doing it. We're doing it. It's just for those of us who've been awake for 30, 20, 10 years. He says, we're like, let's get on with it, right? Hey, I feel it. I feel you. He says, he says, I feel you. Yeah, I was in this place 25 years ago where you are right now. I'm like, fuck, what's taking so long? He says, I get it. I do. I totally get it. But it is what it is. But we're as close as we've ever been to flipping it. He says we are. Okay, and then somebody asks a question about a Dr. Michael Sulla interview with the Army guy, JP. They asked who has control over the arcs, the ships. And Alex says, Michael asked me if I had any input about the orbs coming out of the arcs, and my input was this. The orbs which are coming from the arcs itself are more than likely looking for crew. They're looking for the crew. They may be also looking for the passengers. Now remember, these boats are ships, okay? In order to get on these things, to get in and out of these things, your DNA, your frequency has to be embedded in the ship, okay? In its memory. And that's probably what they're doing. They're moving around the planet looking for crew, okay? Or passengers, which would be crew, okay? If you're on board a ship and you do anything, you're part of the crew, okay? And you act accordingly. That's what I think they're doing. So it's the crew. It's the crew these things are looking for. That's who's in charge. That's who's in charge. And that's all I can say at the moment on that. I befriended a lady on Leaders of the Council, Andromedan Council. It's another offshoot of Knights of Terra, an Australian lady, very sweet. And I told her all my dreams about being on ships and going to school, and the one where I felt like I was involved in Noah's Ark, and I was in this huge warehouse, and the animals came running in. You can feel the ground shake. Sorry, I'm on my bed, so it's shaking my computer. Um, and you could feel the ground shake, and all the animals came in, and we put them in these like when you work for a big company and you have all these cubicles. Everyone's got their own little cubicle. We put the animals in these cubicles, and we shrunk them down, and we took the animals' DNA. And I remember sitting at my desk and having all these barcodes to all these animals. And I remember seeing this alien language. And in the dream, I could read it perfectly. And I was reading something off. And then I woke up from that. And then I can't remember. Can't remember any of that like language. So I told her about that. And she was like, oh my gosh, you need to contact somebody. You need to contact like Tony Rodriguez or somebody. You need to contact like Dr. Sala. Somebody, you need to contact them and let them know like you were probably part of the crew on these ships. So all of these things that have been happening to me, the stasis dreams, the school dreams, being on ships, I'm like, and she's probably right, but I'm like, I don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to contact them. I need a little bit more information, like things coming to me. Like if they could tell me there was an actual ark, a ship that dealt with like the animals like Noah's Ark, then I would be like, okay, I know So we'll see. I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting because I'm like, well, these orbs, if they're trying to find people, it would have found me by now. I've had orbs in my past, but not like silver orbs that are flying like from. I've had energy orbs in my room, um, which I just think I always thought was my mom watching me, or who knows? I had that a couple months ago where I thought I said I had an angel in my room. It was a bright, bright light in my room, and it like pulsated. So I don't know what that was. So maybe they have found me. I don't know. But you'd think someone would contact me by now. You'd think I would know if I was part of the crew, right? So I'm just waiting. But tell me what you think I should do. Email me. See what I should do. He says, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of drama, and the drama's being created to try and wake up as many people as possible. It's an agreement with the Alliance that we do everything possible, and the White Hats are going to do everything possible. But when it's go time, when the hammer drops, it will be unmistakable, and you will know it because of who we are and our soul groups, and the fact that we have come from other times and other places, from other star systems on a soul level to be here for this moment. That makes you Alliance. Do you understand? That makes you Alliance. You have family on these ships. It's me right here because I had that memory dream where I was on the ship with my mother, who's been gone now for 23 years. But she was on that ship with me, and we were looking out the window down on a planet which I perceived was Earth. And she said, "Hurry up, or you're gonna miss it." And she had a tag that said 20, and I had a little tag that said 21. So 2021, maybe? I don't know. I don't know exactly if that means a year yet or not, but and then there was a moving, like a walkway, like in the airports, like a moving walkway, and I got on that, and it took me into an elevator, and then I woke up. So really interesting. So he says, you have family on these ships. You have souls that you know on these ships that are here to help. All right. That makes you Alliance. And because you're Alliance, you're also a member of Space Force. You are part of the intelligence network of white hats on the surface of the planet. Don't forget that. And we are one big family, and we are going to win. Yes. We are going to win. It says, God bless you. I love you. Don't lose faith. Okay. We are further along than we realize. It's just that we have to play it out. Take care. Thank you very much for your support and being here. This doesn't happen without you. So take care. Okay. So yeah, that was the next one is April 21st. This one was I want to say the 7th of April. I'm not sure. Somewhere before that. But it was number 180 for him. So anyway, please support Alex and JP and James. Go to alexcollier.org. And that's where all of his information is, past videos, his Defending Sacred Ground book you can download for free. And yeah, go ahead and support Alex. You can go to brighteon.com, and he does his webinars every Friday. There's usually 2 that are question and answers and 2 that are webinars. But I quit doing the question and answer ones because I can't keep up. Once he does it, like I said, I hope he kind of cuts back a little bit just because I don't have time to keep up with all these. So I'm like, we're in May, we're at the end of May, and I'm still only on. I started in on April 21st webinar. So, but go ahead and support Alex. Thank you so much for watching my channel. If you like this, give it a thumbs up. yeah, and share it with anybody you think might like this information who can't afford the webinars. Um, so got dust and fur all over my computer. My computer went down. That was another reason. It just pooped out on me all last week. I don't know what happened. I think I hadn't been swiping out my cookies, cleaning out my cookies in my history, and I think it just died. So that was another reason I wasn't able to do a video last week. But um, thank you so much for watching Cosmic Metamorphosis, and I love all of you. Keep continuing to shine your light. Just be kind. Be kind to others, because we truly don't know what people have been going through, especially lately. So we're all family, okay? Continue to shine your light and be the light for those still in the darkness, okay? So say we all, where we go one, we go all. And I love all of you, and I wish I could give all of you a great big hug. Take my kiss. I love you. I will see you next time. Thank you.